Well, it is the 29th of July, 2024, the very last Monday of this month, the last week of July, so baridi probably itaenda ikisha. Karibu sana, this is the Morning Cafe. My name is Freddy Ndimuli. How hot is the coffee where you are?
And I'm used to Stanley Yeringit, as you rightfully say, the last week of July, but then this particular week as well begins a new month, August. Mm-hmm. And you know, 1st of August inakuga nini? Do you know? Girlfriend's Day. So just keep that in mind. I knew that would be, but then something more important coming up at around 1st of August, this particular end of this week, the vetting of cabinet secretary nominees.
Now that is something we can talk about.
Like, you know, you lazima nikumbushe gentlemen, karada by the way, ndio usianze kuulizwa kunungunio unaulizwa mbona ukumbuki siku na kukumbusha tu very early. This particular Monday being Health Monday, will be getting into conversations around complications on childbirth. Did you know that around in 2020, about 800 women died after every 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yes, that is according to World Health Organization. We'll be getting into that. Around 9 a.m., we get into some Chinese medicine. It is called moxibustion. Yes, matters heat therapy. But then,
there you learn.
Yes. Mm-hmm. For the main conversation today.
State of the nation, of course, a lot is happening this week, including what Stanley has mentioned, the vetting of cabinet nominees later, starting on the 1st of August. Mm-hmm. Philip Kisia will be in studio, former town clerk Nairobi. Kipruto Rapkirwa, former cabinet minister. Honorable Dr. Mumbi Ngaru, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly, as well as Samuel Pogisio, also a former minister. They'll be in studio to help us understand exactly what the implications are as we look forward to the vetting of cabinet and a lot more. So do stand by for that conversation.
Oh yes, that conversation that I was telling you about matters pregnancy complications. Dr. Bruce Semo, he's an obstetrician and a gynecologist. He'll be helping us for that. To the headlines.
Gachagua running out of options, and the deputy president gets back to the front pages this time on the front page of the Standard.
I love the choice of the photo they've used there.
Okay. On the Daily Nation, Ruto turns to usual strategy, a smiling president there on the front page, and it's rare. The photos we've been seeing of the president on the front page have been of a very worried man. Yeah. At least now the smile is back. Mm-hmm. Yes.
On People Daily, integrity questions, the vetting, and they've already started this whole conversation. Chatuone pali itaendelea.
Now the Star has a very long headline that just takes a totally different kind of tangent. How CIA stopped US Embassy bomb plot. Well, interesting story because who else is talking about this?
It is a Star.
Sajili akataa chama cha Gen Z. I don't know, we're still talking about Gen Zs.
Yes, we are.
Yeah?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes.
Sajili akataa chama cha Gen Z. Habari kuu kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
On business matters, Kenya banks snoop on staff with AI in war against fraud. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, they're employing AI. Regional matters on the East African Samir's political chess game. Ahead of the electioneering season, a stern president is enforcing loyalty and efficiency among state officials, as seen in the latest reshuffle. Yes, still reverberations from the latest cabinet reshuffle in Tanzania, making it to the front page of the East African. Across the border in Uganda, and the lady of the month or the year, she's called Anita Among, the Speaker of the National Assembly in Kampala, Uganda. Two shades of opinion, they say.
Innocent me.
Uh-huh.
Hey,
so she's in the eye of the storm. Speaker of Parliament Anita Among, who's sanctioned on corruption charges by the US and the British governments, yesterday said she's a spotless leader targeted for fighting homosexuality. That's on the front page of the People Daily. And they've put a raft. They've broken down all the allegations of corruption in the UK, in the US, and what she says back home. Yes. So the front page is entirely dedicated to Anita Among, the Speaker. So when you see Among on the headline, you need to read that headline very carefully.
See Among.
Yeah. Still in Uganda.
Suspects in 8 billion Ugandan shillings robbery arrested. Say prime suspects linked to murder of Eritrean businessman is what they're going with. Mm-hmm. Special coverage, how much water is too much water? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The other headline on the front page of the New Vision, still to do with Anita Among. Anita Among to hand over to Tayebwa. President Museveni there in that picture, and Deputy Speaker of Parliament Thomas Tayebwa Taebwa's father, Daudi Bangirana, cutting a cake to celebrate 80th birthday. So among is to hand over to the Deputy Speaker now. I think the problem has become too much.
Pressure imezidi.
Pressure increase or decrease.
Increases. In Tanzania, gazeti la Mwananchi yasema katiba utekaji moto kwa wagombea TLS. Wagombea urais chama cha wanasheria. This is now the equivalent of the Law Society of Kenya in now Tanzania.
TLS.
Yes.
Wasema kila mgombea ajenga hoja kwenye masuala hayo yaliyoibua mjadala wa kitaifa, watoa ufumbuzi kuyashughulikia. So most of them are focusing on the recent abductions and kidnappings in Tanzania as their campaign slogans.
Interestingly, all of them are men.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aliyeua watoto wawili sasa kunyongwa. Habari nyingine kwenye kurasa wa mbele wa Mwananchi kwa Tanzania.
And they've been focusing on that, the killings, abductions of young children.
An interesting headline here, mapya yaibuka kanisa la kiboko ya wachawi. Hey. Such a headline only from Tanzania. You'll never see this in Uganda.
Kiboko ya wachawi, finally in Tanzania.
Matters Olympics find it to the front page of the Citizen, still in Tanzania. Say Tanzania starts medal chase at Paris Olympics, and you can see some of those representing Tanzania in Paris. A lot of discussions about what's happening there as well. Yesterday they sang when South Sudan was playing their very first game.
Okay, Sudan.
They played a wrong anthem.
Yes.
They played the Sudanese anthem. And the South Sudanese were not very happy about that.
Yes.
They actually booed. And it's something very wrong. Remember, South Sudan broke away from Sudan. So you cannot have a wrong anthem, especially in such an instance.
And that was not the only gaffe. I think late last week when they were introducing Korea, South Korea now, they mentioned the Democratic Republic of Korea.
Which that is North Korea now.
Yes.
Wow. That, you can never make that mistake. Anyway, away from the Olympics and back in Tanzania, teacher shortage threatens education quality, something similar to what's happening in Kenya. And what new trade policy aims at. BOT is optimistic on dollar availability, similar problems to what we have in Kenya as well. So these are just some of the regional headlines. We'll be coming back to look at the local headlines in a short while.
But first, let's take a look at the traffic, being the fact that Leo, there are no planned demonstrations, so traffic in Nazarudi normally.
Yes, it is normal, and you can actually see already around Pangani interchange, there's already build-up of traffic. And as you exit the interchange into Moranga Road, there's some build-up. This is a problem. Usually, if you get an accident immediately after that interchange, this is what you expect to see. So probably there is an incident immediately after that interchange that could delay you. If you can, probably opt to use this other route. It's now called Wangari Maathai Road, but it's Forest Road. Yes, so there's a problem there around just after the interchange once you get to Moranga Road. Elsewhere, normal traffic on Jogoo Road. This is kawaida kabisa, meaning normal Monday traffic. Of course, you see that slowdown there at Makadara next to Mbotela and around City Stadium roundabout. That is very normal. Also, what you're seeing around Marikiti area on Haile Selassie Avenue is very normal traffic for this time of day. Southern part of Nairobi, on Mombasa Road, it's looking good so far into town. Langata Road as well. Ngong Road too. Yes, from the junction all the way Adam Zaked, the usual snarl up there because of the T-junction. Into town, it's looking good. Wayaki Way 2, I can see there's nothing to report. So the traffic situation in Nairobi is very normal for a Monday morning. Nothing out of the ordinary. Yeah, Jipange, Uingie town.
Oh yes. I realize that ikifikanga end month, watu wanatoanga magari.
Oh yes, kuna wale wamelipwa.
Umelipwa, so unatoa gari, so traffic inaweza ongezeka kidogo.
Gari zingine zinatoa moshi kuliko zingine.
Right, into our weather updates right now. Let's take a look at Tanzania and the coast region, specifically in Tana River. While in Tana River, President William Ruto is expected to conclude his coast region tour there. We'll be telling you more about that in our diary. So in Tana River, it is 21 degrees Celsius. It promises to get as hot as, get this, 34 degrees Celsius. You never see this around Nairobi.
As you complain about July cold weather in Nairobi.
These guys are relaxing.
This is not even relaxing. This is too much. 34 degrees Celsius is uncomfortable.
0% precipitation, hakuna chance ya mvuko. That is in Tana River. Let me take you to the eastern region of Kenya. That is in Makueni, 16 degrees Celsius. No chances of it raining today. Promises to get even warmer, as high as 29. The lows that you're going to see today ni 17. Hiyo ni Makueni. Twende uko Kajiado and its environs. Tuone utakuwa unapata ngapi. Slightly lower than other areas. 14 degrees Celsius. Is it going to be raining today? Nope. If you're in Kajiado, leo kitoka kwa nyumba, unaweza vaa as warm as possible. Finally, in Nairobi, 15 degrees Celsius, slightly warmer, but then it is going to, they say this is now the whole bit of the day. 40%, as high as 50% precipitation, thunderstorms as well, so make sure that umebeba ka umbrella as well. Speaking of what to expect for today, a lot is going to be happening. I had mentioned the first one on our news diary. President William Ruto is expected to conclude his 4-day Coast Region inspection of developments tour. So today he will tour Tana River County, where he'll visit areas like Ngao, Kone and Bangale. Speaking of what President William Ruto is going to also do, on our next page, he is set to formally submit ODM leader Raila Odinga's application for the Africa Union Commission chairperson. So today, the government is also set to share details on the roadmap on the continental job. And now to the next page, matters IEBC selection panel nominees. Two interesting details that will be happening today. LSK Chair Faith Odhiambo and Speaker of the National Assembly Moses Wetangula will today officially announce nominees of the IEBC selection panel for the lawyers body and the two persons nominated by the Parliamentary Service Commission respectively. So also today, the political parties liaison committee will submit the names of 3 representatives to the Parliamentary Service Commission who will sit in the selection panel. And on the final page there, Paris Olympics 2024, all eyes will be on Malkia Strikers, our volleyball team ya Kenya, who will be facing Brazil in the South Paris Arena 1 in France, the women's preliminary round Pool B in the ongoing Paris Olympics 2024. Other teams in Pool B include Poland and Japan. So we wish Malkia Strikers all the best as they have that game this particular day. That and a lot more right here at your #1 home of Untold Stories. Right now though, Today in History.
Today in History. On the 29th of July 2017, a man wielding a machete attacked the home of Kenya's then Deputy President William Ruto and injured a guard before hiding in the compound. At the time of the attack, Ruto and his family were out of the compound. This happened 10 days ahead of the national elections.
That reminds me that we are around 10 days away from marking the third anniversary since the elections in 2022?
2022.
No, 2 years actually.
2 years.
Oh, it's only been 2 years. And the way things have changed. Anyway,
things have gone and boiling nicely.
Let's take a look at the headlines and the dailies today. Gachagua running out of options. That's the front page of the Standard this morning, and the Deputy President makes it back to the front pages. And they say, path to 2027, it is not in doubt that Deputy President harbors ambitions to succeed President William Ruto. And if he thought he was close to his target by endearing himself to Mount Kenya, then that target has moved quite a distance as a bromance between the President and Raila blossoms. That's matters to do with what's happening in the political scene. With the entry of some people from ODM into government. Well, Raila Odinga insists ODM hasn't entered government. Whether other people believe that or not, we'll be getting to understand later. That's the big headline, Gachagua running out of options. The other story given prominence on the front page of the Standard, parents anxious over Gen Z fever as schools close. Yes, schools are closing for the August break. Yeah. And this has renewed fears that students might get caught up in the protests or even pushed to participate. And that story is on page 3. Yes, many schools are closing this week. So, mojipange. Other highlights, government clears Raila's path to AUC, submission ready. More headlines, Ruto Gen Z moment, a wake-up call to all on good governance. This is some of the things the president has been talking about over the weekend as he toured the coast. Health projects at risk as Treasury trims budget votes. Interesting. Under the supplementary estimates, the approved budget for the health sector has been revised from 127.1 billion to 118.2 billion. That's 9 billion shillings less. Yeah. More highlights on the top strip. IEBC recruitment gathers steam. Why it matters. That story is on page 2. Why it matters to have the IEBC. Story is on page 2 of this paper. Elsewhere, American polls enter home stretch on the international scene. In business, experts peg all your hope on big data. And in sports, Ndolo dreams to bounce back after Olympics. And that is our cue to flip the paper, which focuses on the Paris 2024. That's the back page of the Standard today. Malkia strikers keen to punch above their weight. They'll be facing Brazil.
Yeah, the last time they won Olympics was the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, so it's a big deal for them.
Yeah, so they're playing Brazil at 2 p.m. Kenyan time today. Other fixtures, Turkey versus Netherlands, USA versus China, and France to face off with Serbia. So something to look forward to for those people who are following what's happening with the Olympics. Matters volleyball, Malkia strikers to face Brazil. And France also clamps down on sex workers at Olympics. You remember the other headline that
drug dealers,
drug traffickers were recording booming business. They were saying they were ready for the Olympics. Kumbe, there was another group that was also ready for the Olympics in a different category, but wameambiwa mumekuja sana. That story is on back page of the Standard.
France is focusing on the wrong matches. On the front page of Daily Nation, Ruto turns to usual strategy. He has camped in coast for days after picking Joho to join his cabinet. And yesterday he had this whole baraza speaking to people. It's the same old script. President Ruto is back to his usual strategy of touring regions he perceives will accord him a good reception after doling out political rewards in cabinet appointments, a script he has perfected since coming to power in 2022. The political tours are usually disguised as development visits. Other headlines on the right strip, conversation that continues Mali kule GKIA, say red flags in Adani, GKIA deal mirror auditors 2018 concerns. In context, they say questions being asked about the proposal to lease Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to an Indian firm mirror concerns the Auditor General flagged about a similar abortive deal involving Kenya Airways in 2018. We'll continue following up on that for you to see how the latest updates are. Meanwhile, let me take you to Haiti. Kenyan police battle a Haitian gang. Say the Kenyan police exchange fire with 400 Mawozo gang as they seek to liberate parts of Gothia town near border with the Dominican Republic. Paleju scrambled to cash in on Gen Z wave. Over 20 applications for name reservations have been made to the office of the Registrar of Political Parties with eyes on the 2027 polls. But bado Gen Z wanasema we are partyless and leaderless.
Yeah.
Yes.
For how long?
Kwingineko, MPs clash with the senators over conflict of interest bill. That is on page 6. But then a very interesting story for to talk at Daily Nation. If you're into these two counties, Kwale na Makueni, there's an interesting story there. National Land Commission settles counties' boundaries disputes. So Makinon Road belongs to Kwale County and Mtito Andei is in Makueni County. For long there has been a whole dispute of that, and the NLC was called to look into the matter following a petition filed in 2022 by Busia Senator Okia Omtata. That, in a nutshell, is Daily Nation for you. Talk about Nairobi, page 11 for the cartoons. But first,
let's take a look at the People Daily. They talk about integrity questions, and that's the front page of this paper. matters vetting of cabinet. It will be no walk in the park for President Ruto's cabinet nominees after crusaders for good governance file an avalanche of petitions challenging the suitability and track records of some of the candidates. And yes, conduct of leaders in their previous lives might return to haunt nominees, and they have all the nominees from some of the nominees who've returned to cabinet and some individuals who've also been included, including Wycliffe Oparanya and Hassan Joho from ODM. And yes, vetting. A lot of questions being asked on whether or not vetting by the National Assembly will actually be consequential when it comes to the new list of nominees to the cabinet. Integrity questions is a big headline on this paper. And the highlights: experts are warning that in Nairobi you're staring at a water crisis, and that story is on page 3 of the People Daily. Soma zaidi uelewe.
Na hii baridi, mtu ana avoid kuoga juu ya baridi, alafu tena umwambie
hakuna maji. Anafurahia sana. Why Mandera women are the mothers of the nation. County has the highest fertility rate with about 8 children per woman for the last 3 years. And yes, I've heard talk about the kind of population boom in the northern parts of Kenya. Yes, in Mandera, yes, wanafanya kazi proper.
Okay.
Backlash over Last Supper parody matters Olympics. There's been quite some controversy. Christians across the world up in arms, feeling that the religion was mocked during the opening ceremony of the Paris Olympics on Friday. That's the People Daily. There's one more highlight there. There's a feature. Please help. My daughter is dating a married man. Wow. Pole. That's a People Daily.
Tungalia, the Star, with a very different headline that other papers haven't. How CIA, that is a Central Intelligence Authority, stopped U.S. Embassy bomb plot. It was led by Saleh Ali Saleh Naban, who had direct contact with Bin Laden. You can read that on page 6. But other headlines, Pale Juu, have coverage on pages 4 and 5. Inside Ruto tours to pacify demo hotspots after deal with Raila. Matters national unity. The headlines, Pale Chini, it's silent pain for mothers raising children with autism. So they require support. And learners in Naivasha drop out of school for fishing. Okay. Say many secondary school students have dropped from class in the last year to join illegal fishing around Lake Naivasha. According to the Minister of Education, informal settlements around the water body were the most affected as the numbers continue to rise by the day. And Alama civil servants failed to repay 7 billion cash shillings housing loans. The fresh details show that the workers who are yet to repay loans issued under the Civil Servants Housing Scheme Fund. An audit of the fund for 30th of June last year revealed that they have ignored demand letters for repayment. Hii ni gazeti ya The Star. Taifa Leo.
Yes, Masajili akataa chama cha Gen Z. Asema zaidi ya majina 10 yenye jina hilo yamewasilishwa kwake, lakini akayakataa kwani yanabagua kiumri. Yes, because any political party you're required to be all inclusive. You cannot say you're having a party, political party for women only, or for a certain generation only. So when you say it's Gen Z, you're saying unabagua wengine. Inafaa ikuwe na wazee na kina mama na watu wote pia. Hatua ya kusajili vyama vyenye jina Gen Z imeibua maswali, kwani vijana ambao wamekuwa wakiandamana wamekuwa wakisisitiza kuwa hawana kabila, chama cha kisiasa wala kiongozi mahususi. Pale chini kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo, Aladwa ataka kurithi Wandai. Kwingineko, polisi wakomboa mji Haiti. Na kwenye spoti, Arsenal yaumiza Man United. If at all you missed it, kijana, Arsenal is back. Siasa pale juu, Ruto ahidi makubwa Taita Taveta. Na kwingineko, tutabaki waaminifu kwa ODM, Joho na wenzake wasema. Habari hizi kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo.
This week it's all about positive energy. I'm not focusing on that Man United loss. On Business Daily, I think is a final local daily before we get into the cartoons. Kenya banks snoop on staff with AI in war against fraud. They say lenders bent on tech to detect irregularities, and financial industry adopting new solutions to minimize losses. Palechini Treasury on the spot of a 2.6 billion cash shillings tax gift to e-bike farm. So listen to this. Former Treasury Cabinet Secretary, that is Njuguna Ndung'u, has been put on the spot for committing over 2.5 billion Kenyan shillings of public funds to pay taxes for private electric vehicles farm, triggering opposition from rival farm. On the ticker, the right side, matters economy, e-citizen services parastatal cash mop-up yield of about 129 billion Kenyan shillings. The revenue from non-tax streams, such as fees on government services, grew by more than half in the financial year that ended the 30th of June this year on the back of increased digitalization and mopping up of surplus funds in parastatals. In matters companies, Kenya Airports Authority employees will have to renegotiate their contracts with the possibility of job losses to some should India's Adani Airport Holdings win its bid to run Jomo Kenyatta International Airport for, get this, 30 years. Kumenuka. CBK 650 billion cash shillings amid bond rates standoff. That is the business daily that takes us to cartoons this morning. Page
we start
12.
off with a cartoon on the Standard. It talks about redefining reality, and they draw comparisons with what's happening in Paris Olympics with South Sudan, actually. The Trailblazers. They're doing very well in Paris. They've won already one of their matches.
Yeah. Well,
so congratulations to South Sudan.
Yes.
You know, when it comes to basketball, wanasema ni Americans. But now we're talking about South Sudan.
Yes.
Claiming their space in that area. Meanwhile, Gen Zs are talking about politics. Clearly redefining reality, because hitherto they've been very nonchalant when it comes to politics. Now we're seeing them at the forefront. That's a Standard. On the cartoon on The Nation, they talk about Trailer's different medals, and these medals are pegged on the fact that how he's been getting into various administrations. He got one medal for the merger in 1997 when his party joined KANU. He got another medal when they formed the Government of National Unity with Mwai Kibaki in 2008. He got another one in 2018 when he had that famous handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta. And now in 2024, and we have a caricature of the current president, William Ruto, now handing him the medal. 2024 for what they're calling broad-based government. Yeah, that's a cartoon on the Daily Nation today.
The cartoons on the Star as well as the People Daily have to do with matters bread for this morning. Tuanze na ya the Star, and this gentleman there is eating this huge piece of loaf, and the two gentlemen kando yake wana watch, sio kama pia wanakula. Naona the chicks are also imejaa, lakini huyo kiwaru.
Hii ni kiwaru, hii hapana mkate.
Ini kiwaru imekoma pale. Interestingly, the two gentlemen who are looking down from above, caricatures of former late presidents, Daniel Moi as well as Mwai Kibaki, and a faded kidogo, former president Uhuru Kenyatta, and the gentleman there dancing, Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka. The Star. People Daily, still on matters mikate. Kuna huyo gentleman pale akona crown kwa kichwa. Anafikiria, there's two other gentlemen.
This is a People Daily now.
Yes, this is People Daily. Yes, ndio hiyo. Ona slice vizuri yo mkate. Surgically, actually, the fact that they're wearing the surgical apparatus. Wanakula hiyo mkate na yana iuliza, what happened to my shares? Yeah, amevaa ile crown ya Murima.
Ya Murima. All right.
Those are the cartoons that will be forming the conversations on State of the Nation today.
Yes, indeed. These are the main conversations we'll be having today on State of the Nation with my usual Monday panel. Honorable Dr. Mombing Garu will be in studio alongside Kipruto Rapkirwa, Philip Kisia, and Samuel Pugisio. Do stand by for that conversation and a lot more. You can be part of this as well through our social media pages on X at TV47 News and on Facebook TV47 Kenya. You can tag me on X at Freddy Ndebuli. And
Nyaringita _ a lot more is at around 8 a.m. Pregnancy complications, we will get to that. So stick around for that. And later on, getting into some Chinese medicine, heat therapy at around 9 a.m. You don't want to miss all this.
with their friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwa watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Welcome to The Realtor, where we take you on an exciting journey from bare land to dream home. Step 1. Finding the perfect plot. We explore location, size, and potential. Next, construction begins. Witness the foundation being laid, walls rising, and rooms taking shape. Step 3. Electricity matters. We delve into wiring, switches, and smart home tech. Step 4. From paint choices to fixtures, it's all about aesthetics. Step 5. It's time to get the right furniture. Finally, the big day. Time to move in and create memories. Join us on the journey to making homes a reality on The Realtor, Tuesdays 6:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big
Yes, State of the Nation right here on TV 47. This is the Morning Cafe. Karibu sana. My name is Fred Indimuli. Quick look at the headlines this morning. On the front page of the Standard, Gachagua running out of options. That's a big headline. On the Daily Nation, they're talking about Ruto turning to usual strategy. Meanwhile, integrity questions being asked of a cabinet nominees, and that is something we anticipate later this week from August 1st, when the first nominee will go before the Parliament Committee for vetting. Those are just some of the big headlines, and allow me to introduce my panelists. Each and every Monday, we're privileged to have this panel. Beginning on my immediate right, Kipruto Rapkirwa, former Minister for Agriculture. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Then next to Bwana Kirwa, we have Honorable Dr. Mumbi Ngaro, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly. It's good to have you in studio.
Good morning.
Good morning. Philip Kisia, karibu sana, former Town Clerk Nairobi, and also a leadership and governance expert. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
We also have Samuel Pogisio, former Minister for ICT in studio. Good to have you in studio, sir. Karibuni nyote. Yes, a lot has happened over the last 1 week, but there's still confusion over whether or not ODM is actually in government, and I'd like us to start from there. Last week we were talking about that flip-flopping, and remember the cartoons were talking about the watermelon tag moving from Kalonzo Musyoka now to Raila Odinga. Bwana Kirwa, the events of the past 1 week have left Kenyans even more lost. We saw the first nominees, 4 nominees from ODM, party leadership, the entire party leadership, away from, apart from the party leader, the 2 deputy party leaders, the chairperson of the party, as well as the leader of minority, being nominated to parliament. And many people are asking, is ODM in government now? Raila Odinga says no. What is your take on that?
Well, I think former Prime Minister is right, because they have not formalized in terms of the structures of the party. But technically, the shift is so clear that there is no difference between the government and the opposition, in the sense that you would have expected, if Raila's hand was to be hidden, that he nominates members of ODM, not necessarily those who are at the top echelons of the party. In this panel, we have 2 of them. If they wanted a lady, there is our good lady here, Dr. Mumbi Ngaro, and there is our vibrant young man, Philip Kisia. They would have fitted the bill in terms of, Philip Kisia would have gone to Minister of Finance, Mumbingaru would have gone to the Ministry of Cooperative and should have done very well. But now, taking away the deputy party leaders, the chairman, and the minority leader is really saying we don't respect the institutions of political parties in Africa, more so here in Kenya. And this is the disease that I feel we should be able to cure. As long as we do an assault on political parties, we are doing an assault on democracy. That is my fear. And we've not done very well as a country since 1964 up to now. We just hope when the GNCs get to town, they'll be better than us in political hygiene, which we have now totally lost.
Okay. Dr. Ngaru, do you agree that this is the highest indication of lack of hygiene in politics? The fact that now we have the top leadership of the party, ODM, the biggest opposition party, now.
Fred, good morning.
Good morning.
Last week, I talked about our political parties not being very healthy. And I used the word mogrio. Because I was comparing other political parties with the strong ideology to what we have. We really need a cleanup. But on the same breath, we've been talking about a government of national unity. And we talked about looking for expertise from not only political parties, but also other areas where we would get people who would stabilize the country. I am aware, because I'm a member, that the members who've been nominated to the cabinet did not pass through the political party structures. And that's why our party leader is saying ODM is not in government. But then the same question is, how is it not in government? And perception is that if you are deputy party leaders, the two of them, are already doing the bidding. And they are speaking from inside that we are still loyal to our political party ODM. So we find ourselves in that confused state of affairs. And I think I join my colleague in saying that the Gen Zs will help us clean up our act as political parties. And it is not just ODM. Even those that have not moved into the government of national unity, they are not doing that because of the ideology of the party. They are listening more to the voices of the Gen Zs because they have an ambition of being on the ballot for whatever position in the next elections. So the joy of being a member of a political party that believes in something strong and in the opposition is not the driving factor.
Yes.
It is what will my constituents say about this, what are they saying about that. I believe that as a party, as a political party, we are moving towards what I am calling stabilizing the country before we sort ourselves from inside.
Okay.
But those of us who are who believe in a political party we can feel the injuries that have been inflicted on what we have believed in all our lives.
And Bonakisia, looking at some of the portfolios that the ODM the nominees into cabinet, especially from ODM, will be holding, they're crucial positions in government, meaning that probably they'll be the ones doing the heavy lifting in as far as a bottom-up economic agenda is concerned, the economy, cooperatives, where the Hustler Fund is domiciled. And one wonders, does that change the DNA of ODM? For example, when we have there is still top leadership of that party now talking about bottom-up going forward.
Fred, thank you for having us this morning, and let me join my colleagues, and particularly my senior brother Kirwa, and to thank him for his prayers. I didn't know he had a high regard for me, praying that I can end up in such a coveted document like Treasury. Nonetheless, I think, Fred, if you ask me, this is a very sad state of affairs. Because you have, my sister is trying to garnish the story. And I think it's only fair we say things as they are. You cannot mix oil with water. We have a situation where we're being forced to mix oil and water. The people who have been joined the government of Kenya Kwanza are ODM members. Not just an ordinary member like myself and Mumbi. In fact, Mumbi is more senior than me in the party. But these are senior members of our political party. As a matter of fact, deputy party leaders, 2 of them, gone. And they've just passed like wind. Then other 2 senior members of the political party, again joining government. A government that they don't even believe in. My friend Badi is on record for calling this cabinet that was dismissed a group of skunk. Now, we are in a situation where half of the skunk, in fact more than almost 60% of the skunk is back, according to Badi, not me, is back. And he and a few other people are back, actually have agreed to join the skunk, according to his own definition. Now, I think the question that we should be asking ourselves is, has anything changed? Is that cabinet that has been appointed by President William Ruto going to change anything? Do they have the capacity to change? I doubt. Because the problem, in my view, was not actually the people who had been appointed, who Badi referred to as skunks. It is the leadership which seemed to have had a problem. And since the leadership has not changed, the top leadership has not changed, in my view, nothing is bound to change. If you ask me, Fred, the 4 members of ODM who have agreed to join cabinet have given themselves, they have been given a rope to hang themselves. Yes, indeed, the ministries are strategic, finance, cooperatives, blue economy and mining. The other one is what? These are
energy.
Energy. These are critical ministries that are supposed to deliver the bottom-up agenda, or is it the top-bottom agenda? Whatever it is.
No.
They're supposed to deliver.
It's bottom-up.
I don't know whether we are about to see anything, but let me say this in closing, and then Fred, because sometimes people wonder why we are going through pain. It's painful. It's extremely painful because we have a situation where we are reminded of what Mzee Arap Moi used to talk about, the Tumbo policy. These characters have gone there not because they are the best that we have, not because they're going to change anything, but these characters are there because of their own stomachs, the Tumbo policy. They did not share the same ideology. Because you see, when you join a government, you must first of all believe in the ideology. All the four are on record, including my friend Joe, is on record of actually making very so clear abundantly that he will never be part of that system. Now, even before the ink dries, the man is praising the president and appreciating the appointment. These are characters who don't believe in anything. They believe in their stomachs, the Tumbo policy.
And if we could focus probably on ODM for a moment, Bwana Pogisio. This has been the biggest opposition party for a very long time in Kenya. It is the second biggest party in parliament in terms of numbers. And what happens to a party when the top leadership exits and probably will start singing bottom-up economic agenda going forward? We have the national chairperson leaving, the leader of minority who has been key in opposing some of these policies. What does it do to the party that is ODM going forward?
Thank you, Fred. My friends have all said it, and I do believe that ODM is still our biggest opposition party that continue to be the biggest and the strongest political party that is in opposition. I don't even know now how we're going to balance out the issue of the official leader of opposition and so on and so on. Because the minority leader has gone, the chairman of the party is gone, the two deputy leaders of the party are gone. So what is left in there is going to be a shell until it is filled with some.
If things go well, even the party leader will be exiting. If AUC actually,
very soon. So I don't know of this political party, which we have had a lot of faith in, being the strongest leadership and the longest actually. One of the oldest political parties in the country. So we need to worry as a country about our political situation in the coming years. What nobody's telling us is, once you join a political party that is in government, you have to share some of their ideologies. You have to behave like them. You have to forget what you used to behave like and behave like them. So if you know how they behaved, you can see all these guys are running to behave like that, because you can't survive unless you behave like that. So, and as they say, if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it definitely will be a duck. So we have a situation in our hands where we don't know the future of our political situation. Now, my brother Kalonzo has to step in and probably salvage the opposition, because the way ODM has gone, you can't say that ODM is not in government. ODM has moved to government, for sure. I have not spoken to the leader of the party, but if I were to speak to the leader of the party, I would be wondering whether because I still hear people saying we are not in government, we have not moved to government. The ODM is not in government, but I mean, it's a duck. These are the things which are happening. My prayer is that the nominations will be rejected on grounds other than just being people from another party, that some of them will not make it to the party, so that we really can salvage the thing called democracy in this country. But my prayers sometimes I don't get answered. That's a problem. So as I do pray that we are going to make sure that this country is making progress, not taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back in terms of democracy. As you look at our country right now, the people who have been appointed, first of all, the returning of the people who had been sacked, who had been dismissed, is already a problem. And those who have been dismissed still have problems among themselves when they're brought back. So we don't know whether we're worried about those who came back first because they were returned, or even the ones who are joining in. So we think, I want to agree with my friend here about the party called ODM, which we have respected so much. Our lady friend here would tell us, if she's the leader there, one of the leaders there, what really is happening. Okay. I used to suspect my two people, my advisors from the left, on the left. Now it's becoming a reality. The advice is coming home. Anyway, I really want to worry about that. I am one of the people who would say, for goodness sake, these countries need to be seen to make progress in multi-party democracy, not retrogress.
Okay.
Yeah.
And talking about multi-party democracy, if you look at the numbers in parliament, if the two top parties join forces, they'll be very close, and that's not even counting the other Kenya Kwanza affiliates. Just UDA and now ODM get to about 231, very close to a supermajority in parliament. It also means that this union between the two parties could be a threat to how parliament operates, beginning even with the vetting process. If ODM is on the same side as UDA, we've been complaining about how the executive has been using its numbers in parliament. Going forward, if ODM crosses, we'll be talking about tyranny and supermajority in parliament. That in itself is a worry. And, does it worry you, Bwana Kiru?
It is worrying because at the beginning of time, Fred, we in Azimio we were 177 members of parliament, which means we were a majority, effectively. But of course, the emasculation started by taking the UDM, later on Jubilee, all the independents. They went to the side of Kenya Kwanza. So with this, with ODM now, almost doing business with the government of the day, it effectively means whatever the committee will do, the supermajority in the House is going to whitewash and pass all those nominees as long as the two party leaders agree this is the list. Now, this brings us to the issue that we cannot talk about democracy in the country without democracy in the political parties, because it is akin to a situation where now the parties are the two individuals. On one side, Prime Minister Raila Odinga, President William Ruto. So when the two sit down and decide, the rest of us have no space. And in fact, I'm questioning whether Azimio still exists, or is it a desolate house that we are just waiting for the debris to fall on us. The second issue, Fred, which I think is also important, is that when we make decisions like this, we must look at the totality of the implication of those decisions. I don't mind Mbandi because that nomination can be given to my sister here. And I'm just begging former Prime Minister that Mumbingaru just went to one term to East Africa. She can take that position of nominated member of parliament. But now we are going to occasion by-election in Siaya, where the sitting member of parliament has now been nominated to the position of minister of energy. That effectively means we are occasioning the taxpayers' money to be used in a by-election that was not necessary. There are so many qualified people in Siaya. In fact, for those of you who may not be aware, Siaya, especially Game Siaya, is the cradle of Luo intellectualism. And therefore, there are enough people. There could be even engineers in the energy sector who would have occupied that position. Then Wandai waits until the next term. If we form government, then he becomes a minister. I just want to remind him of one Odero Joey, who decided to vacate his position in parliament to join the UN. When he came back to try his position again, he lost miserably. Because people said, you left us when we gave you the mandate, now why are you coming back as a job seeker? So it is a dangerous situation that worries me. Now the second issue, Fred, is chairmen of various committees. Because chairmen of various committees ought to be from the party that forms the opposition. So I do not know now whether ODM is still in the opposition or are they in government as some kind of, because they say government of national unity means effectively they are, if we are to use the South African situation, where DA and ANC have gone to bed to form the government of national unity. So this is a mongrel that worries me. And if we don't develop strong institutions, we are likely to be in this situation for many years to come. Okay. We must make it not attractive for anybody in the opposition to want to go to government. And the only way we can do And this is another advice. We make sure opposition is also strong. We will be taking care of money that we lose every day, 2 billion. We may need to use about 10 billion per year, 50 billion in the 5 years, by having official leader of opposition properly remunerated, and also shadow cabinet ministers, so that Opiyo and I could remain a minister, but a shadow of the real minister of energy. It worries me. And my worries are not limited to that. I'm worried because we are solving a social problem using a political solution. We have cooled the timbers, but for how long?
But whatever will happen to Parliament is definitely worrying. The balance of power in Parliament helps that House to play its role of oversight over the executive and at least moderate some of the excesses of the executive. If we tinker with that balance of power, the way it has happened now, we're not sure whether or not ODM is still in the minority. It affects everything. We're saying this with the knowledge that Parliament and its performance was one of those targeted by the protesters. They said occupy Parliament because, and that was an indictment on the conduct of Parliament itself. What has happened now will make it worse, don't you think, Dr. Ngaru?
I want to be very blunt that this is not the first time it has happened. It happened in the last Parliament. ODM was still a political party. It was there in the other Parliament. It was there during Kibaki's time. This scenario is not new. And until we have the courage to call it by name, we will not sort it out. I want to call it out. I want to call the name out. Is that it is a regionalism, even in the current setup. It is not political parties. It is a formation of regions and their interests. That is exactly what it is. And
you seem to indicate that there are regions that have been left out of this.
No, I'm not talking about what is being left out and what is being, but regionalism is the one that has been practiced over the years. But every political party is dominant in a particular region. And therefore, when the gentlemen who have been nominated come from Nyanza, we assume it is ODM because they are ODM. The other good gentleman from Coast, it has been one of our bedrocks. And the current government wants to snatch that base to add weight to the coalition arrangement. And therefore, it's nothing new. And this is the reason why, even as they tap from the Mount Kenya region, they are still careful that we don't antagonize so much. We have 1, 2, 3 spread over, but make sure that the region of the mountain stays as they don't know whether they are government or they are moving towards the opposition. So call it as it is. And that's where I defend my political party leader. It's time for Nyanza to get a good portion of what they have been asked to go and partake. That said, is we have now to sit and reorganize our politics, even at the political party base. The fact that our leaders have gone into government, what is going to happen to ODM, they are very strong persons in the party, they may not be occupying the positions that people see. But when we speak inside our party, we make changes. And therefore, I encourage people not to give up on political parties. I will not move out of ODM. I want to stay and clean it up from inside. But I still know that the issue of regional politics and what is there innate for our region, we've not cleaned our minds from that. It doesn't matter whether you are UDA, KANU, or whatever else, we have that behind our minds. And for me, from where I sit, I say, our party is good. They are not hiding anything about it. Where you have been asking a government of national unity, let those who have been tapped, because they are not a selection from the party. The government talked to them individually. I can tell you that from where I sit.
They just happen to have been the top leaders of the party?
No. There was a lot, forgive my language, people were lobbying, and they lobbied for themselves. And they knew if they were to wait for the party to make that decision, it would have taken longer. Or they would not have been the candidates that would have been fronted. So within the party politics, and I'm not saying it because I am senior, or but I want you to find out from even where you sit, you know the truth. If I was asked from where I sit, I would say we've got talent, we've got skills in the party. We have Philip Kisia. I would have fronted different people.
Okay.
But we also had brokers within the party who were holding others' hands and saying, you know, this one is good, but you mentioned something else that let us not miss that one.
Okay.
And I am talking about regionalism.
Okay. And if we could stay with that conversation, yes.
Yeah. We have the Minister of Finance being taken from the Mount Kenya region, and it goes to Nyanza. That is the basket, is the beehive, is the engine of the country. Something tells me that it is regional, going for their own thing. Energy. You know it has been an issue. Then just look at the twist. And from where I sit, I see a curve from the lake up, down to the coast, and taking a turn up again, and then the Mount Kenya region. They will have the numbers, but there will be an empty shell.
Okay.
It will be an empty shell if our people, the people I live with, that are what we call the owners of my name, they have to resit and re-strategize on how do they relate with the rest of the country. This tyranny of numbers that they keep on pumping to the rest of the country, they need to ask themselves whether it's the right strategy.
And the Standard appears to be buying into that idea. They say Gachagua running out of options. Bwana Kisia, when you hear Dr. Mombingaru speak, of course she speaks from, she is an insider in ODM. Whatever she says, you take it seriously. Are you persuaded that this is a conversation we're having, that this reorganization that's happening barely 2 years after the last elections is actually gearing towards a regional reorganization?
Well, I know my sister Mumbi is closer to the fire. So whatever she says, you should take it more seriously than a statement coming from me, because I'm just an ordinary party member. But let me say this. What President William Ruto has done is using, old tactics, old strategies in an environment that has completely changed. This regionalism, tribalism could have worked maybe with our generation, or most of the people in our generation. That could have passed, and it has passed. But, when you are looking at the current situation, you are dealing with 70% of the population that does not buy into that idea. They don't buy into the idea of tribe because they're tribeless. They don't buy into the idea of regionalism because their region is where they live. So you can't come and tell a Gen Z, a millennial, or an alpha, whose parents originate from Central, that was Central when he lives or she lives in Kilimani. So her region is Kilimani, or Karen, or Reva, or or Kangemi. So President Ruto has applied the old strategies that were used during the dark ages, and for the time being, he appears to have quelled the heat that he was facing. But I can tell you, those strategies are archaic, they are bound to fail, because you're dealing with a different environment. Okay? What Kenyans were asking for, a majority of Kenyans, who are the Gen Zs, millennials, and alphas, and of course, half of our generation, we were asking for a reset of Kenya. We wanted to reset this country. We wanted action that would propel this country forward. The action that we are looking for is an action that will address the issues that are facing this country. The issues that are facing this country is not about the region. The issues that are facing us, including Mumbi, is having a corrupt government, wasteful government, a government that believes in regionalism and tribalism. So, high cost of living, lack of jobs for our children who are qualified. Instead of looking for proper jobs and creating industry in Kenya, you want them to go and work as maids in Middle East, and you're calling those jobs. You see, so the mentality that we have is an old mentality that cannot address the current population that we have. Okay. So in my view, Fred, this regionalism, because I'm not saying that when President Ruto was considering the formation of the new cabinet, he should not. The Constitution, of course, guides him that you must consider a face of Kenya, whether the cabinet that he has presented presents a face of Kenya is a matter of debate. So those parameters are really defined within our Constitution. The question that we must be addressing as Kenyans is, why did people go to the streets? Has the new cabinet addressed those issues? Yes or no? From where I sit, nothing has been addressed. The cost of living has not been put on the table. Extrajudicial killings have not been put on the table. We are busy talking about ourselves. We are busy talking about appointments. Yet we have 60 families grieving. We have 60 families who have lost their loved ones. That is not on the table. So for me, let's not even talk about this region thing. Let's not talk about this cabinet. There are issues precedent that should have been discussed before these appointments. Those issues should have been put on the table. Therefore, my party, we can sit here and say that my party was not involved. But when you have the top people at the party level accepting jobs on the other side of the political divide, it's a very dangerous thing. It means actually, even within our party, we have the wrong people in the right places.
Okay.
Why would a chairman overhaul movement, ODM, 2 deputies, accept to work with a regime that just the other day they are condemning? Let us call a spade and not a big spoon.
Okay, but they appear to have managed to change our conversations completely. As Bwana Kisia rightly says it, probably we're having the wrong discussion. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about something different. It was about the protests in the streets, what many people have described as a revolution. The political class came together, and what some of the panelists have discussed and said, they are using archaic methods to resolve some very new problems. Could we be looking at a stolen revolution? That yes, people went on the streets with a different idea, but the political class has come and hijacked this and taken it in a different direction. Bwana Pogisio.
Yeah. By the way, the situation in Kenya is very alarming and very difficult to deal with. I don't know what we are dealing with now. Is the Gen Z still have their agenda or not? Are we trying to stop them from what they started? And is this the way to stop them? And those are the questions. And are we stopping them because of our interests, or are we stopping them because of the national interests? Are we joining the government because of our interests or because of national interest? All those questions come to us. But look at it this way. It has already been said of the Gen Z that they are tribalists, they are formalists, whatever you call them. They have no regions and they have no class. And they will continue to ask these questions, whether you suppress them or not. They will continue bringing out the questions because that is their duty. Because right now, they think the future is in danger because of the way we overborrow money, because of the way that we run a country, we are stealing from the government and everything. They are questioning our integrity and they're questioning our character. So to sort it out, we come back to what I usually say here. We don't get it. And this, we are not getting it at all. Even now, we actually don't get it. When we have a chance to reconstitute, we go back to our old ways. And we think we are back to where we started a long time ago. And we completely ignore what the world is moving into. You'll be surprised that what used to be called the Pentagon is forming itself again, okay, coming back. Or something similar to that. When we get a chance to reform, we are back to our old selves. We go back to our old friends. We go back to our generation. We go back to the people who understand our language. And we forget that there is a big problem of 75% of the population not understanding that language. And we are not understanding their language. And we're having a problem because their language is so complicated that we don't seem to get it. And that's what's going to have a problem with our country. We're going to have a problem trying to interpret what this formation is about. People were dismissed, and the dismissed came back, were reappointed. So what was the dismissal and what was the reappointment all about? And when they came back, people are questioning some of those appointments as going back to where they used to belong and say, why are you taking them back to places where we complained about in the first place? So our interest in our generation doesn't seem to explain why we are doing things the way we are doing things. We have to begin to understand that this country is not just about us. It's about another population. It's about a class of people who are so educated. They know the world. They run the internet. These are the people who are going to be interested in asking questions. I saw the other day the police in this country are now having to cover the number plates of their cars when they're going to arrest these people. Why do the police have to cover the number plates of their car? And then these Gen Zs still go and find out that number and put it on that car and say, this is the car that abducted our people. When you reach a place where, because we can never understand these people, They are so informed and they have so much information on each of us that you wait until the vetting comes. The kind of information which is going to be dug out on everyone who is going to be vetted. The only problem is we also have old ways of passing everybody.
Yeah.
We have old ways of muzzling. We have old ways of manipulating. We have old ways of making sure we get our way. We have old ways of clearing people of their misdeeds. We're clearing people of crime. This is all going to be the kind of old rules that we have. So I am very worried about this country because we are not interested in a new start. We are not interested in understanding the Gen Z, understanding their language and what they want. So I don't care. I mean, you can appoint Kisia, you can appoint any of these Weshimiwas to nominate them, but it is still ourselves forming ourselves into the usual way of running things in the country, and we never seem to get it. We don't seem to learn.
But even those old ways seem to have given the president some, well, let me call it a bit of comfort. If you look at the front page of the Daily Nation today, we have an image of the president smiling. The front page of the Daily Nation. The kind of pictures we've seen of the president over the last 2 weeks were of a very worried man on the front pages. Now he appears comfortable enough to leave State House to begin touring regions. He's spending a number of days at the coast, yet he had been confined to State House for a whole month. Whatever he has done politically appears to have given him and the political class some level of comfort. Hence the question, has the political class managed to completely take over the revolution from the younger generation?
Yeah, it is without diagnosis. I say so because at times when I get headache in the morning, the first thing I do is to look for Panadol or some medicine of that same category to reduce my headache. But upon visiting a consultant or a physician, he tells me the problem is rooted elsewhere, and that is now the beginning of real treatment of the disease that may be bedeviling my system. I say it is good that the president has less headache today because what he has swallowed is panacea. Recruit them according to their qualifications and don't make their parents pay for anything. If you are recruiting soldiers, askaris to the military, to the police, to KWS, KFS, all these positions, as you know today, and I want anybody to challenge me. If you came to Cherangani when they are doing that, or you go even to the former constituency of the president, Eldoret North, if you are to arrest those people and you take away the money they are keeping, you will start a bank. You will raise more than 1 billion shillings because you will find every parent is waiting for midnight to part with 400,000, 600,000 after all these other things have been done. And these are the issues Gen Zs were talking about. They were talking about integrity, but now we are giving it a political solution. But I'm hoping that the president, as he does the tours, is going, my fear is that he may now go out of the country. Because you remember, since the Gen Zs came to town, he has kept himself in Kenya. Now, he will also do that, but I wanted also us to not to be unfair to Dr. Mumbi. Because I can see this is the 2007 elections reincarnated. This is totally Western Alliance. You remember in that particular time, the entire Kalenjin community, Western except the Bukusu Nation, and some parts of Coast, the entire Nyanza, except some remnants in Kisii, did what they did. So I think they say people who have known each other before, it's easy for them to get back again. What I'm seeing is now a repeat of PNU, ODM, and therefore the magic in this equation is Kalonzo Musyoka, who was kept in the middle. This time, his prophecy may come to pass, that atapitia katikati. Because remember, Kibaki and Raila in 2007, the difference was minimal. Of course, Krigela said he doesn't know who won the election. And therefore, with Kalonzo moving to either side, either joining Raila and Ruto or joining the other equation, that is what will form the next government.
Okay.
So, Yes, it is a political solution that we have, but it's so temporary that it may not last the period. And what I fear, Fred, when these boys and girls come back to the street, you will not kill enough of them. They will overrun the systems because now they have lost faith even in those of us who are in the opposition. So if opposition and government are lumped together as the bad fellows, when they come, who is going to say, please stop, there is a team that will reason with you. You've seen even they have rubbished the so-called dialogue because they don't believe that we have the answers, because they have seen us before, bring the answers to the table, but we sweep them immediately, we form the next government. Okay. That's my worry.
Now, President William Ruto yesterday held a town hall meeting in Mombasa, and some questions were asked about what exactly the broad-based government means. I'll be looking at that after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting...
Yes, can I have a lady this time? Oh yeah, that gentleman. Yes, my good friend.
Mimi ni Joash Onsare, mwanahabari wa TV 47 na vilevile Radio 47. Kuna haya masuala ambayo yamejitokeza hivi majuzi, na nakumbuka kwamba wewe Mheshimiwa Rais ulisema kwamba unabuni serikali ambayo ni broad based, na tumeweza kuona katika baraza jipya la mawaziri wale ambao wameteuliwa, umeweza kuwateua wale viongozi kutoka upinzani. Labda swali ambalo ningependa kujua, je, hii ni mbinu ya kumaliza upinzani, na je, watatekeleza the plan ambayo wamekuwa wakipinga, ambayo ulikuwa unaizungumzia wakati wa kampeni kwenda mbele? Asante.
Thank you very much. Broad-based government. I think that's your big question. Let me say this. Because of the challenges and the issues that came up in the last couple of weeks, going into 1 month, I committed to the country that I am going to form a broad-based government. And many people are asking me to explain, as Onsare there is saying, what is this broad-based government? It is broad-based government. That's what it is. It is what it is. Because, you know, because, you know, there has been this feeling that maybe this government is made of William Ruto's friends, right? And William Ruto's buddies. And I said, it is time. You know, I have friends. And I've seen many people ask me, okay, why did you, dismiss the whole cabinet? And then you hired some back. Let me answer it this way. It was necessary to have a fresh start. Because as I told the people of Kenya, we're going to have a broad-based government and we're going to have a fresh start. So that even those I have given another opportunity to serve in cabinet, they must now know that this is new. The terms are different. We may have been friends, but now the terms are different. Number two, I also wanted other people to join in government, because for a long time as Kenyans, we've been divided on sides. And that's why I decided this time around, let me form an administration that has the broader face of Kenya. And that is why you see some of the members of my new cabinet coming from different formations, political formations. And I said I'm going to consult. And I'm going to talk to people who are willing to talk to me. There are those who did not want to talk to me, and that's fine. That's democracy. There are those whom we sat down and we agreed with, and we agreed on the agenda. What are we going to do? In fact, at some point, I was having a conversation, and the conversation went like, okay, the housing program. The housing program was in the manifesto of ODM and was in the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza. True? They're all there. The UHC program, it was on both sides of the divide. There are things that are common between us. And my question is, those things that we have no contest about, can we agree on those things and move the country forward on the things that are not in contention between the sides? And that is how we agreed with ODM to work on the broad-based government that captures some of the items that we all agree on. Number two, let me clarify, as the party leader of ODM did, that we did not form a coalition government, so that nobody should tell us we're trying to compromise the opposition. We did not form, we have no formal coalition arrangement. What we have is running an administration on matters that we have agreed, members of ODM who have agreed to come and work with us so that we can put the country first and be able to deal with the challenges that brings Kenya to where it is, whether it is our housing plan, whether it is matters to do with UHC, and all the other items that we agree on as a nation are important to the people of Kenya. I am not very keen on who takes the credit. I am keen on the transformation of Kenya. So this is what I can tell you about that arrangement. Okay, we have yes, there is a lady there.
A rather long-winded explanation on exactly what the broad-based government is, an agreement with ODM. What exactly is it? What is this broad-based? We can only see the inclusion of ODM or some members of ODM. What else is broader about this government?
It's a mongrel.
A mongrel.
It's a mongrel of many things. And ODM is just a part of the arrangement. But I'm glad he has said it himself, that there is no formal coalition. And he has clarified, it is those in ODM that are willing to come over. He said it, just like my party leader had said. And then there is something that we are all missing. Because of this no dialogue chorus. the party leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, had and is still insisting, can we go back and put the things that we need to push forward in a way that we agree as a country? He's not even talking about the party, as a country, so that we pick the things that the Gen Zs have been talking about and do an agreement, a document that can be a TOR for the new. I'm glad he talked about a new government. He's very careful not to talk about new faces. And that tells you something. So I wish them well. But the good thing is that even as we, the political parties and actors, seem to have taken the thada from the Gen Zs, we have not managed. We have not managed. And let us make no mistake that the idea of Gen Zs getting away from their real agenda is sorted out. It is not sorted out. Some of us are very keen observers. And even in that sitting where the president is, you will look at the faces and see it's Gen Zs. But he's still getting applauded. Before that, it was a different kind of a chorus that met him from the same people. So behind the scenes, we must look for the political actors who are talking to Gen Zs in the region where the president is going. And this is why we are missing it. That behind the scenes, the political actors are doing their thing. And this is why we are talking about us doing a new thing, but the old ways. And I saw it happen when the president visited some part of Meru. He did not get the hostile reception he had gotten a few weeks before that. So what is this that is affecting that temperature of the Gen Zs in that particular region? What is happening? Who is talking to the Gen Zs? In the capital cities of Nairobi, the temperatures have gone down. And if you check on the social media, there's a section of them, the political actors, that are saying, Ruto ni mweupe kama pamba. He has not killed anybody. I've seen those kind of things. So behind the Gen Zs, the regional political actors, be they the ones that we know or the ones that we do not know, there's something that is happening. Okay. And until we sort out that, we will not change the country. Mm-hmm. My worry is that when this Gen Z agenda is torn by our old ways, and when I talk about our old ways is what we are used to, then we are going to delay. That will seem like a Christmas party. Mm-hmm. And I am worried as a parent and as a leader, an opinion leader in this country, when the agenda of the country is lost. The new agenda that was fronted by the Gen Zs is lost. And behind the scenes, we are sowing that seed now to the Gen Zs, And let not anybody lie to themselves. It is not taking root. That seed is slowly being eroded from the Gen Zs to the political actors of this country. I will tell it to you without any fear of contradiction. We can see it going back to churches. A few weeks before that, there was no politician who was allowed to speak in church. Find out what happened in the last weekend.
Okay.
The political actors are back to church and they have received back their microphone.
Okay.
So let's look at those behind the scenes actors. They are lethal and they are more lethal than the political actors that we know.
Bonakisia, you supported this movement by the younger generation for a while, and you've done so publicly. Are you worried by the speed at which this new political arrangement has managed to quieten that agitation?
You know, Fred, I'm not worried. I'm not in a group of people who are worried because, you know, change is inevitable. You know, well, I look at the president and I get very worried. He's like an unqualified doctor. If you're not qualified, you're not a doctor. So he's like a quack who a patient has gone to and is suffering from diarrhea. And the only way his prescription of dealing with that is stitching the behind. That's not possible. You need to treat not the symptom, but the problem. The problem that the Gen Zs were having, and you know, I think it's sad that we think that you can, by temporarily dealing with the stomach, and that's what my sister talk about. You know, now the heat has been quelled. Temporarily dealing with the stomach, you take away the brain. If our generation was in that type of a space where, you know, you could temporarily feel the stomach and things would be okay, this generation, the stomach is in the brain. So rather than dealing with quelling the fire on a daily basis, deal with the head. Okay? So I think the question was, am I worried? I'm not worried because, see, if you even look at the so-called broad-based government, I don't know what's so broad-based about it. Kizungu mingi, but what's so broad-based about this new team that we have? I'm not saying that they don't have some competent fellows. They do have some competent people. But what is so broad-based about it? Has he brought in the youth with fresh ideas, fresh energy? Has he brought in people from the business community? Has he brought in you know, people with different capabilities and capacity? Has he brought in people with proven track record, like my brother Kirwa and Pogisho here? Has he brought in, you know? So I don't know what is so broad-based about this other than the statement that he has made. So let me say this. For me, this is a total betrayal of the larger population. The issues that they put on the table have not been addressed.
But you do agree that...
it is like putting old wine in a new skin. That does not change anything.
But it appears to have quietened the agitation for a while.
I agree with you, Fred. It has only quietened for how long? For how long? For how long? The question is, for how long? You see, if you the questions that were put on the table by the youth are that we don't have jobs. You've created jobs for 4 people and a few of the other cronies, yes? Have you created jobs for the Gen Z? People are talking about corruption. Now corruption has been put at the back burner. Nobody's talking about corruption, wastage, opulence. We are not talking about it. We are focusing on some few individuals who have been given a job, who, in my view, should not even have been considered. You see, how lucky can you be if you have been a minister for 10 years, you have been a governor for 10 years, you have been, that chance should have been given to other people, other competent Kenyans. Are you saying that the ones that you focus on are the only competent Kenyans we have. But that aside, I think my biggest issue is that we have put the cart before the horse, okay? The issues that we raised have not been addressed. We've run to, to pick people from different regions and then calling that a broad-based government. From where I'm sitting, nothing has been achieved. The youth are still agitated. If they have just done a tactical retreat, it doesn't mean that they're happy. If these characters are now, in the last 1 or so weeks, have been allowed to speak in church, it doesn't mean that the Gen Z millennials and alphas are now okay. You see, my sister said that the town hall meeting in Mombasa had Gen Zs. I saw some characters there who are older than me. In fact, majority of them are older than me, because I know them. Okay? So there was nothing that has been achieved from that town hall meeting other than presenting the president with an opportunity to tell us what we already know.
Okay. But Bwana Pogisio, it's also an opportunity for the younger generation to sit back and take stock of what they've managed to achieve in the last few weeks and what remains to be done, and also consider what the political class are doing and see how to either join them or counter. The movement remains leaderless, partyless, tribeless. Do you think it will still work to a logical conclusion if they remain with that same formation?
I think it's always better, Fred, that they remain that way, because, as you know, a movement that has identified its leaders, they risk a lot. Their leaders will be targeted and blah, blah. And most of these people don't even know who really the leaders are, because theirs is a generational reaction to something. I watched the Gen Zs of Bangladesh, and they behave the same way as the Gen Zs of Kenya. It's a generational thing. I saw one young man just sacrifice himself to be shot for the rest to happen. They are communicating something and in a language that we don't seem to get. Their determination is not just going to be quenched because we have made appointments. Their determination is not because you turn the corner. They are still determined to make sure this country is held to account. And their cry is, can you be held account? Can you be accountable? So I don't know whether these changes will help us become more accountable, whether these changes actually will be addressing Chapter 6 of our Constitution, because the biggest issue is integrity. And integrity, of course, as we know it in leadership. Remember what we've been talking about here, Fred, about the trust deficiency. It is a big thing in this country. And so whether you change your suit and change the colors of your shoes, whatever it is, what remains to be answered is, can we trust you with our future? Can we trust you to provide jobs? Can we trust you? The people you're bringing, can we trust them? We know them. Can we trust them? What has changed in them? And you know all of them, they're listed over there. You know all of them. Each of them, if put on a trust scale, will have issues. And each of them will have to answer those questions from the Gen Zs. So I'm not so sure that you have quenched the fire. What you've done is taken a break from what the young people are saying. But I can assure you that idea is not gone away. It's not gone away. And I wish that people will begin to see this is not about appointing our person. Because Kenya, you know, we always say is our thief. So why are you punishing our thief? There are going to be more questions about this broad-based government than before. I tell you what, you want to form a broad-based regional government based on your political strength or or political gain. And when you do that, you lose other people. The Kenyans are so interesting. So you gain when you go to Western Kenya or you go to this county, but you lose when you avoid the other county. And so there are going to be people who are going to form themselves against this idea very soon. And it's going to be a very big formation. And so I don't worry about it so much, because always we'll balance out. We'll balance out. You get your own formation on the government side, we will form, other people will form, another group will form, the opposition. And so that's what helps Kenya to continue.
Okay.
And I'm sure that there is already that kind of formation. You gain one end, you lose the other end. For example, I'll give you an example. The people who had ministers from their region don't have ministers now. Where do you think they're going to go? Are they going to say, we are with you? Oh, no. So there's going to be a balancing out, and I trust this. And the Gen Zs are going to be the equalizer in all this, because they cut across. I'm not so sure that the Gen Z in ODM, for example, behave like the older ODM guys who get excited about these appointments. They don't care. I mean, you can't say that our person was nominated. They don't care. They're still worried about, can we be held accountable? And they're in our houses, they're in our homes, and they ask us the same questions. So that's why I don't even know where people live, because those of us who live with Gen Zs are facing those questions even now. They're asking us, who are these people who have been brought in? Can we trust them? So that is the trust deficit I'm talking about.
Pundits say that this political realignment has little to do, and I think you agree with this, even Bonakisia, that it has little to do with what has been happening at the agitation, that politicians have simply found a way of reorganizing themselves for 2027. It's barely 2 years after 2022 elections, but it looks like we're already talking about who's running mate come 2027. Do you agree that that is what is really happening? Politicians have just found us an opportunity to plan for 2027.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That it has been a treatment without diagnosis, because the symptoms of malaria are the same as symptoms of meningitis. And until a physician tells you the difference between the two, you may get mistreatment or maldiagnosis. So I feel politicians have seen the opportunity, and they strongly believe they will resolve the problem. Because from the beginning of time, the two do not sit very well. That is the president and the deputy president. And that's why I've been saying this issue is a blessing and a curse, in the sense that in future, we might have to think of how to sit the two offices, because when the president is in, trying to implement whatever he's doing, the deputy president feels they are elected on the same ticket, and therefore wants to exercise some kind of presence. Then the president thinks he's taking more space than the position of second in command. So I strongly believe that is a problem, but I strongly believe there is still a solution. The moment we start isolating any part of this country, you will be isolated to yourselves. You remember 2007, some of us who are in PNU, we got the misfortune of being evicted out of our seats because we were said we were worse than the enemy. We were seen as traitors by 41 against 1. That is a rallying call that is likely to take place. And you see, even now, the deputy president is not sitting pretty. And I really want to advise him that he can as well prepare himself to a very quiet corner, pray, and if prayers are not answered, he goes close to the mountain to make sure that that message reaches the Almighty God, and for him to be answered. Now, you see what the president has done. Actually, the biggest winner is the president, because by bringing 4 members of ODM into his cabinet, now the burden of incumbency, which he gave to Raila in the last election, is now going to be shared. And therefore lock in ODM to say, let's get into this coalition, because we have all sinned and fallen short of the glory of the people of Kenya. And therefore we are condemned collectively. The best way is to go aside and make sure that we win against the Eastern Bloc. The second issue which is worrying me is that unless the issues of Gen Zs are addressed now, when it comes back, it will be an avalanche that will carry both the government and the opposition. My take, and I don't know why, I've been advising the president, at times he doesn't listen to me. How can you bring Kipchumba Murkomen, who was known to be having condescending attitude and dismissive of the youth, including the one he told him atupeane kazi hapa? Because I would have expected a more settled person to be in charge of youth. Now take a catalogue of all the issues raised by the youth, address those you can address immediately. Inform us how you would intend to address the rest, so that the national conversation or dialogue that the President has been talking about and Prime Minister Raila Odinga, we give it about 3 months, we constitute a team that is seen to be neutral, and we incorporate these young people, so that that conference, the President will have a report to give to us, that this is what I have done, this is what we intend to do, and these are the long-term things we need to do. And of course, so that we don't forget, institutionalizing political parties, having democracy inside and democracy in the country.
Okay. Time for us to take a break. We will be back to discuss more about the politics of 2027 and who are the casualties of the realignments that are happening currently. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. The discussion today is bigger, so we extend a little bit so that we can conclude this. And we continue looking at how the political realignments currently play into preparations for 2027 elections, which is about 3 years away. The Kenya Kwanza administration has not even been able to get to half of his first term before we realign and prepare. And it would appear that this debate of regionalism could be pushing some regions into a corner. The Standard talks about Gachagua running out of options, meaning his space within the ruling coalition has been constricted further, probably with the entry of ODM. Now that speaks to regional politics as well. And are you worried, Dr. Ngaru, that this kind of preparation, what we are seeing, realignments, especially around regional politics, could be an indication of what we will see come 2027? And is that the way to go?
That's where it is. It is heading, and I mentioned it a few minutes earlier, and I called it regionalism. And the actors currently, there's the face that is being seen by everyone, and it's the deputy president. And he's speaking from a position of a weakened position, if you asked me. But he looked for it. And we have talked about that in this platform. He went overboard in antagonizing structures in the mountain region that he should have handled differently. And then there is this bit of the deputy president or the vice president that worries me, and I speak about it quite a number of times. If you asked us here, who is the vice president in Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, we may not get it. But even in the last regime, everybody in the East African region and beyond knew in Kenya there is a deputy president called William Ruto. But his colleagues within the region, you didn't even get the name. So we have created that monster here. And it's something that we need to revisit. And therefore, if you get a person in that position who reminds his boss that I'm not appointed, I was elected with you. 48 laws of power, you know what it says. Never compete with your boss. Don't outshine your boss.
Rule number 2.
Rule number 2. Now, and then when he gets back to the region to come and get people to cushion him, there's a lot of suspicion. Are you not the same person who started by telling us ABCD? Like there's this joke about him putting traps all over, even when he's outside the country, that Raila Odinga does not access State House. And even was asking him, what happened? Were you asleep? And when the same community starts jeering you over things that you have said and done, if I were him, I would retreat in a quiet corner and re-strategize, peel myself and come out with a new skin like a snake, if it is possible. That aside, the region itself is also going through very difficult issues. I have never been in their kitchen political things, but I am a silent observer. And I can still see that the way they treated the president probably forced him to look for others.
Which president are you talking about?
William Ruto.
Okay.
Yeah, by the fact that my region was coming out and demanding and putting conditions and reminding him about, was it 47 or something? And that could have antagonized the inside. So he started looking, if these guys bolt out, how do I manage? And that could have forced the president to look for broad-based, name it whatever. That's a new one for this time around. Nusu mkate it was, handshake and whatever else it was. It's the same thing. And always, whenever that has come to be, it is because the turmoil inside the government, they want to look for a formula to stabilize the nerves of a country.
Okay.
And therefore, the issue of the deputy president, irrespective of whether he is from the Mount Kenya region or wherever else, need to be addressed from a point of constitutional reason.
Yeah, okay. But say for referendum, we may not be able to change that for now.
That's why I say so that the arrangements of any other, it doesn't matter, that the person probably who Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka will take as a running mate, or Musalia Mudavadi, that running mate business is toned down to be a principal assistant and not a position that it's like you hold the president by the tail to stitch what.
But Bwana Kisia, it would appear then that when you look at 2027, the biggest debate will be about the running mate position and who will deputize William Ruto. Whether ODM or not will be fighting for that same position to deputize William Ruto is also something interesting. That would appear is the biggest debate, not even who will run for president.
Fred, if there's anything that is so turbulent is the political environment. And the changes that take place in a political environment are so rapid. In fact, they move so fast like a supersonic, supersonic speed. So for me, 2027 is still a long way to come. There are many things that will happen between now and then that will change the dynamics of 2027. So let us not be so worried about what will happen in 2027. But I'm not saying that we should not start preparing for 2027. We just need to be a little bit cautious that we still have time, at least so far as the political environment is concerned. The other thing that, that we must take cognizance of the fact is that what I would call the market mix. The voter that we're dealing with, as my brother Pogisha said, it is not the voter you've been addressing on a rooftop. In fact, they don't want to, they will not be probably become for political rallies. Their rallies will be on Twitter and on social media. So you must now reconfigure yourself to address 70–75% of a population that does not, that wants to delink completely with the past. So the strategies that you may want to apply going forward must change, because if you don't change your tactics and strategy, of course, you'll be addressing a very, very small proportion of the voter. I doubt whether that small proportion will propel you to the presidency. But let me also pick on this issue of the deputy president and why deputy presidents in the Republic of Kenya, have this feeling that, I've just not been appointed. I've earned the position. Without me, you probably would not have been president. We saw the way our current president, William Ruto, treated President Kenyatta. I brought you votes. Without me, you would not have been president. In fact, President Ruto even was a bit disrespectful. He would even, in a very sarcastic manner, remind us that the president is unable to deliver. He can't work because most of the times, is incapacitated. So, President Ruto, he's finding himself in a similar situation where Rigathi Gachagua is reminding him that without my votes, 47% votes that we put in the basket, you probably not have been president. So it's just a replay. So how can we deal with this issue of the deputy or principal assistant going forward? My view is that you should not pick up a running mate for political expediency. Pick up somebody you share ideals with, ideology, somebody you can work with, somebody you can gel with, because it's a marriage of about 5 years, maybe 10 years. So don't just pick for short-term gains. That's what happened with President Ruto. He picked up Rigathi for short-term gains. He's actually harvesting what he planted, and he's the only one to blame. The other thing that we probably must do going forward is that the office of the deputy president should not be an idle office. Should not be idle. Rigathi is an idle man. He has no work to do. Being called a principal assistant is like a PA. You have no work. You wait to be given some work to do. Can we design specific responsibility to the office? Can we attach some work to the office of the deputy president? We saw Kibaki doing it. Kibaki made my good old man and neighbor, Modi Awori, he made him, you're the, yes, vice president, but I'm assigning you specific responsibilities. These are human beings with ambitions. So when you leave them without work, they have to look for work. And that energy will be directed into areas that are not very productive, but disruptive. So, I mean, if I were to advise the president, I would tell him, okay, 2020, I'm hoping that he can keep Gachagua until 27, because let him not betray Gachagua. Gachagua delivered 47%, or the community delivered 47% of his vote. He can keep him, we can keep up. Actually, we can keep up with the two of them. It's very painful, but we can keep up with the two of them for another 2 years as we, buy time to re-strategize ourselves and get a new brand of leadership that will actually redeem this country, that will transform this country, that will get rid of corruption. Because the current crop of leaders we have, I don't see them addressing the issues that have been put on the table, because most of them, because we all live in Kenyans, are tainted with corruption. And I'm waiting, it's gonna be a movie. This vetting of the 22, oh man, shock on you.
Okay. Bwana Pugisi, as you make your final words, your assessment of this realignments going into 2027.
Well, everything right now in our political formations is geared towards 2027. We have said it is actually groupings of people who seem to know each other well, and they want to see how to balance out for winning the election in 2027. And already they want to realize one region that is stronger, and that's why they have appointed people from that region. Another region which is where they have strength, so that if what happens, if for example the mountain moves and the mountain can move, then they have some kind of insurance on this other side. But I really want us not to forget that as we debate, as we worry about 2027, the pertinent issues right now is about the young people, the Gen Zs. Those who have been killed, those who are in jail because of their demonstrations, those who are in hospital hurting, so that we don't forget to address that particular issue. The release of those people, the cost borne by their parents right now should be borne by the government. And when it comes to appealing to the government of the day, as has been told, please, these are not just kids. They have an agenda. They want this country to change. Let's spare their lives, but listen to them, but also deal with the issues right now that are pending. And they've made their claims very clear, by the way. It's no longer just a formless thing. They've already made their claims. They know what they want. And we're looking forward to next month to see. This next month is just coming. And they've already promised that they're not going away. So let's not forget in our formations for 2027, let's not forget what is fomenting right now in the country and try to address those issues. And I wish President Ruto well in trying to deal with these matters at the moment. Yeah.
30 seconds each for a parting shot only, Bwana.
Yes, I want to look at the position of Deputy President and that of DG together in various counties. I realize there is a lot of disquiet, and my prayer is that we relook philosophically into the fundamentals of the Constitution, whether we can give them a hitter's moment. When you've been running as Deputy President, you move away for 5 years, then you can come back and run for presidency, as likewise for the governors. Otherwise, this conflict is not likely to be resolved soon.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Ngaru.
Fred, I want to just get it out of my chest. Suppose the president had the courage to come out and address the nation and say, Kenyans, I want you to give me 2 years to form a transitional government in a broad-based way and right the wrongs that happened behind there and that are fomenting this harmony, this content with all the populations and get a solution without talking about 2027 and without talking about the votes that come from various regions. Okay. He will go down in history as the most courageous leader of this country.
Thank you. Bwana Kisii, a final word.
To my party leader, you've done a lot for this country. Please, I beseech you that you need to protect your legacy with all the might that you have, and some of us are behind you. To the president, you do not hold the title of this country. Don't play ping pong. Don't put our lives at risk. Address the issues that have been raised by the Gen Z. To the Gen Z, viva a luta continua.
Okay, thank you so much, Philip Kisii, former town clerk Nairobi. Samuel Pogisio, former Minister for ICT, Honorable Dr. Mumbingaru, former MP, East Africa Legislative Assembly, and Kipruto Rakirwa, former Minister for Agriculture. Our panelists this and every Monday right here on State of the Nation on Morning Cafe as we discuss the big headlines for this country. Big expectation this week with the beginning of the vetting